Now, I'm going to do this one. This is the third in that one. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to put it up here. That's all I can do. And I'm going to say again, this involves mind control murders done in patterns. And it's been done for a long time. MK Ultra was hauled into Congress in '53, give a slap on the wrist. Um, you can guess how advanced it all is now. And well, I don't know. Maybe I better quit here. I'm not sure. I'm not going to die for it. Anyway, this is my dad, King Edward VIII, and it was hijacked from him. This is a double. Married Wallace Simpson. This is the King's Speech. The guy they made the good guy, he's a cold-blooded killer, hijacked the British Empire from his brother, kidnapped me, the Victoria II legal heir, with Roosevelt, Kennedy's, the New World Order, the Jews. Go ahead and say it. The Jews did it. Rothschilds, Rockefellers. Thus, how much came from my kidnapping? 45 or 47, Israel became a state. South Africa was, and by the way, I want to get into that. The blacks here, NAACP, where have they been in all this? Civil rights. I was told by a person in my campaign back in '83, Marilyn Katz, and I don't want to get her in trouble. I really don't. I hate to mention names. She was sent down from Chicago. She was Harold Washington's speech, and she was sent through Larry Flint, who was helping me in the campaign. And I turned a bunch of stuff over to the civil rights people in Atlanta, the headquarters there, and she went in, and I don't know what she showed them. I didn't know she was CIA then. She picked it up. So the civil rights is, and the women's NOW, they wouldn't do a thing, and neither would Ralph Nader, and I like Ralph Nader, and Wolf. I've been to all these people. The only people that promised and tried to do anything that I know of outside the FBI, I don't know. I've had a hell of a life, and who do you think's doing all this? Now I'm going blank. Wow. Well, let me get back to something else. I wasn't supposed to go there, was I? Anyway, I wanted to mention, because this is killing me, this is South Africa, which has been overthrown. It makes it look like their freedom when the New World Order comes in, and they already have in Kenya and the Westgate shootings. The Jews and the Americans were there. What happened to Kenya being part of the British Commonwealth? Okay, now then back to, if I can get back to where I was, I want to get back to Oscar Pistorius. And I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. It hurts. This is a gentle, kind, compassionate man. Any fool can look at him and know. But this is one of the mind control murders, and I'm not going to mince any words. This is hell, what they're doing to him, and I cannot stand to watch it done. In this, it's totally mind control murder. He's telling you the truth. He's crying because he's in pain. He's in pain. He's a good man. Reva, and nothing against Reva, for God's sake. Reva seems to was a very beautiful woman. It could have been her that shot him. This is mind control. I hope that I live, and that's one of them, and the Enzorings here next door. He's in Buckingham State Prison, Dillwyn, Virginia. And Elizabeth Haysom is in prison for a murder they didn't. He's a German diplomat's son. That was done in Bedford, Virginia, and they all know it. Everyone, the prosecuting attorney, the Judge Sweeney, all of them knew it. So you see, I'm sitting here giving out these names, and I've got all the names that go with it and dates. I don't know how long I'll live, all right? Now I wanted to go back where? Where am I going to pick up? The Blade Runner. That's all I can say right now. What they're putting that man through who's innocent, I can't handle. And one thing, if I ever make it, it's going to be told, and this man will shed no more tears, because it's the saddest thing. He's a very good man. So now I'm going to go back to, well, I want to say that about the young man in, if I'm skipping around, Pennsylvania. It's like I've been telling you, they modify their behavior. Now that on this young man, so far, they haven't been able to say he's mentally ill or anything. So it's backing up what I've said. They're blaming mental illness for mind control, which is a murder weapon. It's just invisible. I would say this, my son's name, Mark and Scott. I did part of the book, medical malpractice book, and I mentioned part of our life in there. And in the book, Mark's name, I used Christopher, and Scott's name in the book was Ross. Now, that's been used in all this. Also, I wanted to mention Barkley, Robert Barkley. He was a friend of ours way back, and his wife was murdered using mind control. She was buried, I believe, Christmas Eve of '77. I was working for the doctors that I told about putting chip in a, one of the doctors was cardiovascular, and this is how I started knowing that the patterns, I knew the deaths were occurring in patterns. I didn't know the mechanism used, but they were putting chips and bypasses, and the person I just had contact with, that was his name. He's not related, but their name, it was a produce company, huge, and I began working there, and the person that was chairman of the board, I believe he was, yeah, they had a chip put in him, and the doctor that I worked for did it. And, by the way, the bookkeeper, her husband, Russell, I can't remember his name, was murdered. She showed me documents and stuff while I worked there. I'm not going to mention it because I just mentioned the man's name, and he has no connection to that back then. Anyway, Bob Barkley's, if I'm skipping around, his wife died and was murdered. And it's the Barkley. Later, when I had the antifreeze put on me April the 1st of '80, I ended up working for the DA in that condition. I should have died. But during that time, I don't know, May, June, July, maybe August, there was, in a lot of the magazines, there was a picture of, it was a Barkley ad, and it had a girl handing a glass to the man, and he had sunglasses on. That's the person, and it's been verified by somebody that worked with him, and saw me down there, and I don't even remember that really. I remember the Piedmont Park. I do. I remember meeting him and some agents there, and I was so sick being worked over. I remember they hugged me. He did, and the agents. They were there having just a little picnic, and Piedmont Park. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. I know when it was. It would have been in '79 when I got the letter from the FBI. But that's the person in the Barkley ad, the blonde, curly-haired man, in that Barkley cigarette ad that I knew is Michael Kean. And I've since seen Michael Kean's picture. And was the FBI head of it there. That's not the same person, but I was down in FBI headquarters many times. And anyway, in '79. So let me say this. I was told that this would all be over, of course I may be dead, in Rome. Now, I don't know if they mean Rome, Italy, or Rome, Georgia, because this had something to do with the FBI, and they arrested, who was oh God, don't let me forget his name. He was Michael Thebus. It ended up going to Rome, Georgia court. It was pornography. And Michael Kean was actually, well, okay, let me get back to Robert Barkley. His wife was killed in all this, died and buried in Christmas Eve of '77. Now then, he has somehow become connected with the